Coming up on Network Africa. DR Congo steps up awareness campaigns against Ebola as 3 patients escape quarantine. Amnesty International accuses Nigeria's military of committing crimes against humanity during its fight against Boko Haram militants. And the latest round of peace talks for South Sudan ends without a deal being reached. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Joke Rogers. We begin today in the Democratic Republic of Congo, where 3 Ebola patients have left a treatment center after their families demanded that they are taking them to church. 2 of the patients later died, while the 3rd returned to the center in the city of Bandaka. As health officials scrambled to contain the outbreak, an emergency medical coordinator at Médecins Sans Frontières says 2 of the patients attended a prayer meeting with 50 people hours before they died. Ebola has no known cure, and health officials fear it could spread rapidly in Bandaka, a densely populated city of 1 million people.
The Democratic Republic of Congo and its international partners have stepped up effort to control the spread of an Ebola outbreak that has already claimed 27 lives since April. Awareness campaigns are being run in neighborhoods and public places to get communities more involved in protecting themselves from the virus. Hand-washing points have been installed in 50 targeted schools in affected areas in the northwestern city Mbandaka, and an additional 72 schools in Bikoro will soon receive hand-washing equipment. Schools are also being equipped with thermometers to monitor the health status of children.
We have to do this and wave and not touch people. For saying hello, we should not shake hands, and we should not stand close to people. We also have to wash our hands before we enter the classroom and before eating. If my mother wants to cook, she has to wash her hands, and if she forgets, I have to remind her. Same for my father and my brother.
Ebola causes hemorrhagic fever, vomiting and diarrhea, and spreads through contact with bodily fluids of an infected person. More than 11,000 people have died in an Ebola outbreak in the West African countries of Guinea, Liberia and Sierra Leone between 2013 and 2016, during which health authorities were widely criticized for their slow response. Community workers have been deployed to Bikoro and Bandaka health zones with an aim to run information campaigns, social mobilization, and share information on the virus through radio, religious institutions, markets, schools, and youth associations. The UN Children's Agency UNICEF is providing water supply and purification tablets at Ebola treatment centers, as well as soap, tarpaulins, buckets, and chlorine to support water, sanitation, and hygiene activities in affected areas. Dr. Mandibe Hilary is the director of Wangata Hospital, which has set up an Ebola treatment center.
Behind me, we see people washing their hands. Every person coming in and out has to wash their hands as a measure of protection. Every person who goes into the treatment center must have maximum protection and protective clothing. And also, as you know, vaccination is protection, and vaccinations are appreciated.
Congo began administering an experimental Ebola vaccine to medical staff in Bandaka on Monday, May the 21st, in a complex effort to ring-fence the virus before it gets out of control. The World Health Organization is sending over 7,540 doses of the vaccine to the Central African country, 540 of which have been earmarked from Bandaka. People who had contact with Ebola victims will also be vaccinated. Experts who have studied the Ebola virus since its discovery in 1976 along the Ebola River in Congo, then Zaire, say its suspected origin is forest bat. Links have also been made to the carcasses of freshly slaughtered animals eaten as bushmeat.
Global rights group Amnesty International is accusing the Nigerian military of torture, rape and killing of civilians during its fight against Boko Haram insurgency. The rights group is alleging in its latest 89-page report that the crimes were committed for years and have continued despite a 2017 presidential probe into the matter. A statement from the director of Amnesty International in Nigeria, Osai Ojigo, says, quote, "It's absolutely shocking that people who had already suffered so much under Boko Haram have been condemned to further horrendous abuse by the Nigerian military. Instead of receiving protection from the authorities, women and girls have been forced to succumb to rape in order to avoid starvation or hunger." End of quote. The international watchdog is also alleging that many of the women were held for 6 months to 2 years without charge. Some were tortured and beaten, and some, along with 32 children, had died. More than 30,000 people are said to have been killed since the crisis broke out. Meanwhile, Nigeria's defense authorities have described the report by Amnesty International as fictitious. A statement signed by the defense spokesperson, Brigadier General John Agim, says the military has received credible intelligence proving that the organization engages in falsehood to malign and paint the military in bad light at every opportunity. The statement says, quote, "The Nigerian military admonishes to desist from cooking reports from time to time to demoralize the entire military system and the nation as a whole, whose troops are sacrificing their lives in the fight against Boko Haram and other enemies of the country." According to Brigadier General Agim, the best way to ensure that the insurgency is completely wiped out is for Amnesty International to work as partners with security agencies. In the meantime, some protesters stormed Amnesty International's office in Abuja yesterday, accusing the human rights group of blackmailing the Nigerian military. Let's get more on this story from a security expert, Dr. Ona Ehomo. Thanks for joining us on the program. Make of this latest report from Amnesty International that the Nigerian military committed war crimes and crimes against humanity in its fight against the Boko Haram militants.
The position of Amnesty International is well known on this matter. I think they have made these allegations and they have issued these reports in the past. There was a report in 2012 which was very damning to the military, a military that was just trying to understand the dynamics of the combat which was in at that time. Now there's been a report recently this year also, and now there's this special report which was just released a few days ago, which is titled "They Betrayed Us." So what I'm saying is that the position of Amnesty International vis-a-vis Nigeria is very not clear to me, because I don't think these reports, I've read all the reports they issue, I don't think they speak to the issues, and I don't think they establish or they evidence any abuses which are alleged.
Right. The military says it has credible intelligence report that Amnesty International is engaging in falsehood to malign and paint it in bad light at every opportunity. If this is true, what's Amnesty International's, gain in all of this?
There's no proper evidencing. I mean, when you do something like this, it's only in Nigeria that this kind of thing will be issued as a report. When you do this kind of a report, you get proper, certainly eyewitness testimony. Then you get other supplemental evidence. You get trace evidence. You get undercover evidence, like taped evidence, and you get photographic evidence. You get a variety to triangulate. You cannot call one person, and people are full of all kinds of imagination. You can't call one person and say, "Excuse me, have you been raped?" And they say, "Yes, I have been raped." And they say, "Oh, we have evidence against the Nigerian military." It's so cavalier and it's so casual that it's unconscionable. And so what I'm trying to say is there's no fact. I've read all the reports, I've read everything. There are no supporting facts, nothing, no documentation, nothing, just, a lot of hot air. And this is passing as evidence. Now, your real question is, what do they plan to gain? Yes, well, it is by, putting out such reports, and usually very negative reports against Nigeria, that they can get more funding. So it's all about funding. It's about the money.
Right, thank you for your thoughts on that, security expert, Dr. Ona Ihomu.